Hello and welcome back to another YouTube video talking about 40k and Imperial Guard. And today I'm going to be trying to rank all the Leman Russ tank variants in the game. Just figuring out which is the best one, which is worth using, which isn't. And yeah, so let's get straight into it. So this is how I'm going to rank stuff. I've picked 5 categories that I think are probably the most important thing you're going to think about when you're picking which tank you want. And then each of those categories is going to get a score between 1 and 10 to bring the total points for each tank to a max of 50. So the first category is the main gun, purely looking at the main gun's damage output into things it wants to shoot and things it doesn't want to shoot. The second is the ability, so it's the ability independent of the gun and the rest of the data sheet. So yeah. The points per wound is the third one. It's just like basically a durability, trying to look at a durability stat for the tank and how efficient it is going to be at getting inside a list. But we're not looking at the points for what it offers in terms of the ability and the damage of the gun. Then we're looking at how it plays in certain detachments. Realistically, we're only looking at 2. It is Combined Arms and Hammer of the Emperor. You're not going to see too many tanks in the other detachments, but that is a consideration. And the last category is the wider play, so it's just how many different metas and armies does it perform well into. I did try make a matrix, but it's very hard with all the different, you're looking at like 50 different stats, and yeah, not that experienced with every single army in the game. So right, let's get into the first one. So I'm going to rank them alphabetically, but just as they're listed on Wikipedia. The first one is the Leman Russ Battle Tank. So, the main gun. This, in my opinion, is one of the better main guns. So, I gave it an 8 out of 10. So, every gun is hitting on a 4+, but this one is Strength 10, AP 1, Damage 3. Strength 10 is a really good break point. You're going to be winning most things in the game on that you're actually going to be shooting on a 4. If you're going into vehicles, and if you're going into infantry with it, probably on a 2, maybe on a 3 for more elite stuff. Damage 3 is really good. You need four shots to kill a heavier vehicle most of the time. Looking at dreadnoughts and stuff, and it's going to one-shot most elite infantry in the game. And then D6 plus 3 is like the standard amount of shots you're going to get on most tanks. You're going to get 6 or 7 shots on average. You're also getting blast keyword, really helpful going into those elites and going into the infantry. And 48-inch range is really good. You're never going to have to worry about getting this thing in range. I think for it to reach the higher 10 out of 10s, you will have to buff the AP of it. But as a general stat line of a gun, it's really not that bad. The ability, I gave it a 9 out of 10. For an army that really lacks rerolls on Squadron, this ability is a godsend. Just making sure that those 6 or 7 shots you're getting with those things, you're going to get 6 or 7 hits, is really important. And most importantly, this doesn't affect the main battle cannon, which a lot of the other abilities you'll see are only tailored to the main cannon. It's tailored to everything. Your sponsons, your las cannon, your heavy stubber, it's all going to get these rerolls. And shooting stuff on objectives is, you're going to be doing that all the time. So yeah, really good. And then this actually combos with getting lethal hits as well from Combined Arms. Rerolling hits when you're looking for trying to fish out lethal hits is, really strong. So I gave it a good 9 out of 10. I feel like the only way this could get better is if you just reroll everything all the time, but that's pretty rare in this game. Points per wound is where it does drop off a bit. This thing is expensive. It's the third most expensive Leman Russ. You're looking at 14.2 points per wound, which really is not good. This thing used to cost 170, and at 185, you're gonna have to cut stuff out to get this in, which is the problem with it. Playing detachments, I already mentioned that this thing is really good in Combined Arms. We're looking for rerolls. you know, it does pretty well in Hammer of the Emperor as well. Just like you want to be shooting stuff on objectives with this thing, and a big problem with that is trying to find lines of sight if they've hidden stuff. Allowing this unit to auto advance 6 and shoot works really well on it. The other stratagems less so, but that one especially. And in combined arms fields of fire to make this thing AP2, you're going to be using that a lot on this thing. Yeah, it's really good. Wide play, so this thing performs pretty well. It doesn't really perform bad into any metas. Hull metas it's good, because you know, your strength 10, you can buff it to AP2, you've got a decent amount of shots. You're never going to not be in range to kill stuff that's more like hulls that are more at the back. And 3 damages are good into vehicles. Elites, this thing's really good. Probably should say strong, to be honest. You just have the perfect stats to kill elites. You've got blast, so you're probably going to get an extra attack going into Terminators. 3 damage will one-shot most of them. And realistically, you only need AP2 going, or maybe AP3 if they're in cover into things that have invulns anyway. So AP1's not the worst. And if there's a situation where you do need it, you probably will buff it up. And yeah, really good. And because of its blast keyword, it's pretty good into hordes and infantry as well. Because, you know, you just get a lot of attacks because of blast. So it scores 38 out of 50. Next, the Eradicator. So my issue with the main gun is the strength, which is why it only gets 4 out of 10. So you've got blast and you've got ignores cover and it's AP1, so you're looking good there. You know it's always going to be AP1. Damage 2 means it's pretty strong into like anything 2 wound models, and D3 plus 6 shots mean you are getting at least 8 shots. The problem is it's strength 7, which means it's ideal targets. So you're looking at like Space Marine bodies, stuff that's T4, 2 wounds, 3 up save. And the problem with it being T7 is that you're wounding on 3s into your preferred target, which is more of an issue with this thing because of the value of those models. It's less of an issue when you're going into elites with the battle cannon of the normal Leman Russ. Because say you get, let's just say you get 8 shots, okay, so average. You're probably going to get 5 or 6 hits, and then you're probably only going to get 4 wounds. And then they'll make half the saves, because it's only AP1. So you're going to kill 2 Space Marines. It's just really not strong. And then furthermore, like it's 36 inch, that's probably not going to be a problem, but the extra range could be nice a lot of the time. So yeah, it does. If it was strength 8, it would be much more worth considering. But yeah. The ability, I think, is actually quite underrated, to be honest. Like, you see this sort of slept on. So it's any time you have the benefit of cover, so you can subtract 1 from the damage. I think this is very matchup dependent, because if you're into full shooting armies, this is really strong. The -1 damage doesn't make that much of a difference against anti-tank weapons. Like, if you get shot by enough las cannons, that -1 damage is bet it might not even result in you needing to be shot by 1 extra las cannon. Like, it's rare. But into stuff that's 2-3 damage, subtracting 1 from those attacks is really, really, really powerful. It's so easy to find cover in 10th edition. Yeah. I wish that this was just subtract 1 from the damage all the time, because then this would be a serious unit into melee armies. All those 2 damage melee armies, 3 damage melee armies, this thing would be so annoying to deal with off objectives. Like, looking at anything Space Marine melee, Blood Angels, Dark Angels, Black Templars would struggle with this thing a lot. Custodes would have a nightmare with this thing. It would be so good, but that probably would be a bit too strong, so I understand them not doing it. Points per wound, this is like the average price really, but it's still good. 13.1 points per wound, 170 points. Pretty good. Its play and detachment is not very good, however, because you aren't really going to be shooting heavy stuff with this thing, so lethal hits from combined you aren't going to be getting. And then in Hammer, letting this thing like Giving it +1 AP could be nice if you're up close, but you probably won't be, because you want to try staying cover, which means you're going to try being play further back, because normally the closer you get, the less opportunities of cover you might have. So it doesn't help there. You aren't going to get looking for the +1 AP from that. You're probably not going to be wanting to run this in combined, so you probably aren't getting fields of fire on it. And then letting it go through walls and stuff. If you're bringing it through walls, you're not going to be in cover. So yeah, you pretty much just sit this thing in an L, off to the side of an L-shaped room where it's not fully visible, and then you start shooting things from far away. So it doesn't really work very well. I will give a bit of a shout out to two things though. One is smokescreen. Just gives a really easy, I know it's in every detachment, but it just allows you to get cover if you might not otherwise have it. And this thing with stealth as well is just annoying. And then ablative plating. I'm not sure if this stacks with its ability, but if it does, good, but it's 2 CP. Not great. Wide play, into hulls it's weak. Into elites and hordes, I've said it's okay, because it has blast, and at the end of the day, you're probably just going to be winning elites on 3s, and 2 damage isn't terrible against elite models, and ignores cover is good as well. Infantry, it's good though. Anything T4-2, anything with 2 wounds is good. So the total is 25 out of 50, bang down the middle. Third, we have the Demolisher. How this thing has fallen from grace. So the main gun is, I've given it a 4 out of 10. It's the lowest spectrum really. It has a very short range, and it has a very low shot count, and it's a very swingy shot count. D6 +1, okay, you could get 2 shots, you could get 7 shots, and yeah, it has no access to re-rolling. It does have good strength, it does have good AP. You're going to be winning nearly every vehicle on the game on a 3, almost every infantry on a 2. D6 damage makes it very swingy though. Again, it's just the main gun's just too swingy, which is the biggest problem. Blast is okay, is nice though. The ability, so I gave it a 4 out of 10 because it's just one of those meh. It might be really helpful one game, it might not. It's just it allows you to shoot the blast weapon when you're in melee and not suffer penalties. Yeah, it's okay, but it's not. I'd rather have a different ability than that. Do you know what I mean? It's okay, but it's not amazing. Points per wound, this thing is 190 points, so I gave it a 3 out of 10. It's just too expensive for what it is. It's too expensive for a Leman Russ chassis. It's 14.6 points per wound. This thing being more expensive than the battle tank is rough, considering how much better the battle tank is than it. Yeah. Detachment play, I gave it a 4 out of 10. You will be shooting vehicles with this thing, so it gets lethals from combined, but I feel like the lethals are less reliable because you haven't got rerolls, you have such a low amount of shots. It does do some work in hammer though. The strategy, the rule allows you to potentially get in range with the cannon where you might not be able to. But I feel like a lot of times when people use this, they use it as a threat from strategic reserve for that reason. So yeah, it's not looking great really. And the +1 AP strat is nice, but do you really need to make this battle thing AP4? For maybe the 1 shot, 2 shots it gets through? No. Wider play, I gave it a 4. It's good into hulls. It's only okay into elites just because it has such a low amount of shots, and you're really at the mercy of if you roll bad on the damage roll. Hordes, it's weak. Even with blast, it's weak because it's just so low amount of shots, and yeah, the strength is redundant really because you don't need that amount of strength into a horde mare. And infantry, it's bad for pretty much the same reason. Low amount of shots, really short range. So 19 out of 50 for the Demolisher. The Executioner, so 30 out of 50 points for this one, so a bit better. The main gun has 2 profiles. Realistically, you're only looking at the supercharge. 36 inch range is nice. D6 +3 shots, we've already said, is bang average good. Blast as well. Strength 8, AP 3, Damage 3, so really good damage, really good AP, and the strength is lacking, but it's not the end of the world, I think, so 7 out of 10. The ability, however, is pretty bad. This is borderline 1 out of 10. It just doesn't really come up, to be honest. Like, if you are shooting this, first of all, it only accounts for the plasma cannon. You kind of want it more on everything, because you would actually probably be shooting las cannons at damaged vehicles and stuff. If it was below starting strength, it would be much better. But yeah, if you were able to shoot multi-melters and las cannons into stuff, that's, yeah, it would be so much better, especially because this does stack with take aim, so you can get this thing on a 2+, which is pretty nice. But yeah, I mean, the abilities, it never really comes up. Points per wound, this thing's, we've already said, it's like a bang average price. 13.1 points per wound, 7 out of 10. Detachment play, this thing does benefit from lethals. Obviously it's not as reliable as the reroll lethals, but the strength 8 with lethals, it has enough shots where you're going to probably get 1 or maybe 2 lethals out of it. So yeah, it does help, especially because the AP and the damage is good. It means that when you do get those lethals, they're probably not going to save them. So it's like it's like guaranteed damage almost. In terms of like other stratagems that it's nice with, it's just good in Hammer to get line of sight, but yeah, it's not like it does alright in Hammer. You don't really need field to fire on this thing to make it AP4, but if you want to do that, then by all means do that. Wide play, you know, it's good into holes because of just how much AP it is, and the strength can be remedied in certain situations. So, but it's really strong into elites. Like, you're gonna be wounding elites on 3s, and you're gonna get them on their invul, and you're gonna one-shot them. So very good, and blast is good for that as well. But because of the blast, I gave it okay into infantry and hordes. Because the strength means you're probably wounding them on 2s, and it's like the perfect strength for that. And the AP means most infantry in the game won't save and will be one shot. So yeah, I gave it 30 out of 50. The Exterminator, so 36 out of 50, very high score. The main gun, I give it a 9 out of 10. So on first glances, it doesn't look the best gun, but you soon realise it is when you look at, first of all, it's 4 shots with rapid fire 4. So you're not at the mercy of the swing of the other weapons. And strength 9 twin linked means it's almost like if you're shooting something that's T10 and above, you're basically wounding on like, I think you're wounding on like a 3.5, which is better than wounding on a 4. If you get what I'm trying to say. The twin link just means the strength 9 is basically strength 12 almost, which is really good. And then AP 1, damage 3, you've already said you can remedy the AP a lot of times, and damage 3 is really strong. And 48 inches is good. Being within 24 for the rapid fire is a bit annoying to get the 8 shots, but we can work around that. The ability, I gave a 9 out of 10 as well. Just allowing something else to shoot to buff AP is really, really good. The only thing is it only applies with its main cannon. If you were a lot of things in the game like that have similar rules to this, it's just when they're hit by something. So you could shoot your stubber into something and let that be the AP buff. If you potentially want to shoot your autocannon to finish something off, that's when it does drop down a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it's a really good ability. And you can stack it with fields of fire. So you can basically get a battle tank to be AP 3 or a Rogal Dawn to be AP 5 on its Punisher cannon, which is crazy. Points per wound, it's a bit more expensive, this one. Not as expensive as the battle tank, but on the more expensive side. So 13.8 points per wound, 180 points, so 5 out of 10. Detachment play. So this thing obviously benefits from lethals, like, as normal. The thing is, like, I feel like a lot of time you won't be shooting this into tanks, because you've got enough AP with las cannons and stuff, really. you're going to want to be shooting this at, like, I don't know, other things, and the lethals you might not be getting them. I find a lot of times when I use this, I'm not getting lethals with it, but you need help getting it within that rapid fire range, and Hammer of the Emperor gives you really good ways to do that, especially at finding line of sight onto stuff when this thing might be on the wrong side of the board for that. Hammer's really good, letting you go through walls, letting you advance 6 inches and shoot stuff. But yeah, really good. But yeah, I don't think it's as good as the other things, so 6 out of 10. Wide play, it's good into hulls, obviously, because it's strength 9 twin linked. Elite's the same reason it's really good. Like, if you're winning elites on 3s twin linked, like, you're going to get a lot of wounds on elite infantry with this thing. And then if you don't finish it off, you're going to buff the AP for something else which is going to shoot it, so really good. Hordes, it's weak into hordes, it's got no blast, and just not enough shots really into hordes, is it? And not enough AP into hordes to guarantee you're going to get kills. Infantry, you know, it's okay. No, yeah, it's just okay, really, isn't it? The Punisher. So, the main gun is a 1 out of 10. You look at it and you think, that's a lot of shots. The problem is it's 24 inches. So you need to get this thing close before it can do anything. Then it's 20 shots hitting on a 3+, so 16 hits. Strength 6 means, okay, you might be wounding infantry on 3s, maybe 4s if it's elite infantry. So then your 16 wounds goes to like 12. And then it's AP 0. So anything with a 3-up save is you're going to get 4 wounds on it, and they're all 1 damage apiece. So, okay, congrats, you killed 2 Space Marines. You know, this thing, like, it's just, the no AP is terrible. Yeah, and the range is terrible. No rerolls, nothing. The ability, I give it a 5 out of 10 because giving something dev wounds is really good. The problem is, again, it's only if you're shooting infantry and beasts and mounted. So a lot of times when you need those dev wounds to kill that 1 or 2 health vehicle, yeah, it's like you're not going to get them. And it only works on the Gatling cannon, so you're not going to get them out there either. If this thing was on everything, you could see some really interesting builds where you might have this with triple heavy flamer, or this with like triple heavy bolter, instead of the las cannons and the plasmas cannons and the multi-mellers, just to fish as many dev wounds as possible. But it's only on the Gatling cannon, where you're probably only going to get 2 or 3 dev wounds with it, and they're 1 damage apiece, so you can't give it any higher than 5. Points per wound, this is a cheap Russ, 150 points. It's not the cheapest, but it's pretty cheap. 11.5 points per wound, which is pretty good, so I gave it 8 out of 10. Detachment play, so we've already established you don't want to shoot vehicles, so lethals, you aren't getting them. You could give this thing +1 AP with fields of fire, but not great. I mean, you might end up using it purely because, like, if you have an infantry blob, this might want to shoot the same thing as it, so I could see that being a world where you do that, but there's just way more important things in your army you're going to use fields of fire on. I did say, like, basically the fields of fire equivalent in Hammer, you might use it on because you have to be within 12 for that. So yeah, but it's just not good. And wide play is just awful. Awful into hulls, awful into elites. The only wounds you're going to get into elite infantry with this thing is the dev wounds, and which means you're not even going to kill 1 guy. Hordes, it's good into hordes, it's not even strong into hordes because of how the 20 shots we've quickly established becomes a lot. You know, you're going to half the amount from the hit and the wound roll, so... and infantry, it's okay, but it's not fantastic, really, is it? The no AP really sucks, and a lot of infantry in the game will have a 3 or 4 up save, so yeah, shite. 17 out of 50. The Vanquisher. So, the main gun I gave right down the middle of the road 5 out of 10. So it's got heavy, which means if you want to play this as like a backline firing lane dominator, you can. This thing does really dominate firing lanes against hulls, because the heavy stacks would take aim. So this thing will hit on a 2+ if you have heavy. It's one shot, but it's 72-inch range, so you're going to shoot across the entire board. Strength 18 means you're wounding anything on the game on a 3. You're going to be wounding rhinos and T9 equivalents on 2s. AP4 is fantastic AP. You're putting everything on a 6-up save with cover 5-up saves. And D6+ damage is fantastic. Anything 12 wounds, you have the potential to one-shot. Anything 10 wounds, you're going to one-shot on average. Anything 8 wounds, you have a very likelihood of one-shotting. So yeah, really good. The ability I gave a 7 out of 10. Allowing you to re-roll the wound roll of a weapon that is one-shot is really, really, really important. Because yeah, like, that difference, that like, it just makes it so much more reliable for a weapon that has the potential to do as much damage. I feel, yeah, really strong. Points per wound, 10 out of 10. This thing's 145 points, man. It's 145 points for T11, 13 wounds, 2-up save. Like, that is so cheap. 11.2 points per wound. So yeah, really good. Detachment play, I gave it 5 out of 10. So you will be looking at lethals with this thing, and like, you're not going to get it often, but when you do, it's just funny. And then for hammer gives this thing way more options to get within line of sight. A lot of times you're just going to be shuffling this thing across the back, or when you're playing aggressive with it, like, you can really catch people off guard with this thing. So you're just allowing it to go through walls, move really fast is very important for this model. Wide play, I gave it only a 4 out of 10. It's really strong into hulls, but it's weak into elites because it's one shot. The Horde meta is weak, but it's build dependent because a lot of people run this thing with triple heavy flamer because of how cheap it is, and people tend to use it in detachments that aren't combined or hammer because of how cheap it is. Look, people use it in recon, mechanized, and bridgehead just for like tough board control. And a lot of times they will use the triple heavy flamer build for that because you're not bringing squadron orders. Against hordes, that build is good because you have a lot more output. But I said it's weak into infantry because with that output, it's not that weak. It's okay, I'd say, with that build, but with other builds, it's not good. So yeah, 4 out of 10, but 31 out of 50 overall. Finally, the tank commander. So I just gave the main gun 8 out of 10 because you just pick the best gun, which is either the plasma or the battle cannon, really, isn't it? Ability, I gave a 7 out of 10. So it's when you've destroyed it, roll 1d6 on a 2+, you remove it. The thing with that is a lot of times when you're using certain guns, you might not be in range of what you want to shoot. It's on a 2+, so it's not even going to come back all the time. Even though it is reliable, you always roll a 1 with this thing. And it's just because like the best build is Mully Melters, and like people know how to play against this thing, and they'll take it out from range, where a lot of your firepower will just be useless. So yeah. Points per wound is 1 out of 10. It's 235 points, 18 points per wound, 7 points per wound more than a Vanquisher, which is absolutely ridiculous. It's so overcosted, it's criminal. Detachment play, I gave a 1 out of 10, to be honest, because even though you can say all the previous things, this thing is completely overshadowed by a Rogel Dawn. You bring this thing to give orders, and the Rogel Dawn commander gives the same amount of orders for a fraction more points, and it does way more damage, benefits way more in all detachments than this thing, so why would you bring it? Wide play, it's just build and detachment dependent, really, so I gave it a good score, but yeah. 24 out of 50. So the final rankings. First place, the Leman Russ Battle Tank. I feel like this won't be a shock, to be honest. It is the best Russ. It just does really well at what it's supposed to do. and it's really strong and combined. The second, we got the Exterminator. It's just really good support piece, and its damage itself is pretty good. It's really not that far behind the battle tank. Third is the Vanquisher, maybe a bit more of an unexpected one here, but for how cheap it is and its potential damage is going to score high. The Executioner, 30 points in fourth, so down the middle. You know, its gun is really good, and it does well into the metas, I think, but its ability lets it down. Eradicator in fifth. I think this thing, its main gun lets it down, as to be honest, and its ability is like underrated. But it doesn't really benefit much from detachments. It doesn't really benefit much from the meta unless you're going into certain targets. So yeah, sixth place is this commander. Honestly, I was kind of shocked it came this high. I suppose just because of how you can do its war gear and its ability is still pretty solid. It comes up there. Seventh is the Demolisher. This thing could have been first place in the previous coda in the index, but it's really fell down. Its main gun is terrible. Its ability is meh. It's too expensive. Doesn't do that great in detachments. So, and last place, no shock, the Punisher. It's just complete shite. So yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed me ranking the Leman Russes. If you disagree with anything that I've said, just put it in the comments.